Patchwork Heart Ministry and Fiat Ministry Network invite you to discover your mission, a brand new in-depth monthly video series featuring engaging Catholic speakers who will challenge you to live your life abundantly. For only $25 a month, you will receive a personal monthly mission, including 3 full-length inspirational talks that build upon a new theme each month. Sign up for the Discover Your Mission tier at patreon.com/patchworkheartministry today.
Fiat Ministry Network and Patchwork Heart Ministry present Journeys in Faith. Now, here's Anne DeSantis.
Hi, welcome to Journeys in Faith here on Fiat Ministry Network on this Friday evening. Thank you so much for joining us. And we have an amazing guest this time, as we always do, but we're very especially blessed on this evening that we have Father Frank Pavone from Priests for Life and endabortion.us. Father, thank you so much for joining us on Journeys in Faith.
It's great to be here. Thanks so much.
Yes. Now, you were a guest also on the podcast that I do with Bill Snyder called the Sowing Hope podcast, and also with the St. Raymond Nonnatus Foundation, where I'm the director. So I thought we could just start out with a little bit about your story. I know that you've told that to us before, but not on this show. We'd love to hear how you got involved in the pro-life movement.
I was a teenager in a public high school, and it was the 3rd year since Roe versus Wade. Roe versus Wade, which legalized abortion in America, was handed down in 1973. I was a senior in 1976 and heard that our town was having a bus go to Washington, D.C. for the March for Life. And so I decided to go together with, my mom was going and a few other people from our church. So we went. And that event really awakened my conscience about the abortion issue and about the pro-life movement. And I saw the movement right before my eyes in all its diversity and its size. It was truly impressive. And from that point on, I started paying more attention to abortion. And the more I learned about it, the more alarmed I became that we were allowing the killing of babies. And so I got involved little by little in the various activities of the pro-life movement in my home community and eventually beyond. But that was that event, and this is true for many people, events like that really are the spark that get people interested in this movement.
Yeah, it's amazing. I've been following you for years, not only on social media, but just in general, because you've been involved in it for so many years, and I just commend you. Now, I have to also mention the fact that I know that you recently had a little health crisis there. You did have surgery. I just want to offer you our well wishes, and good to see that you're looking amazing. And
well,
how are you doing?
You.
Yeah, how are you doing?
Oh, I'm doing great. I had a valve repair, heart surgery. My mitral valve had to be repaired, and I'm sure many of our listeners have either gone through this or know somebody who has done so. Fortunately for me, there was no incident that occurred. I didn't have any symptoms. It was just as a result of a normal annual physical that I found out the need for the repair for that valve. So everything went well. doctors are very pleased. Technically now, as I'm speaking to you now, I'm still within my recovery period. I have a couple more weeks to go, but the doctors are very happy with how everything has turned out. And they told me, at the end of this, you're going to have even more energy than you did before. So I said, wow, that's really good news, because I've never had a problem having energy. So it's all for, when I was coming out of anesthesia after the heart surgery, the first thing I said to my close colleagues who were there at the hospital is, I said, for the unborn. We are doing this. We are getting strong. We are getting better. We are taking care of ourselves for the sake of the unborn.
Thank you so much. And I have to tell you that you have motivated me to become involved in the pro-life movement in my area. I'm in the greater Philadelphia area and connected with an organization called the Pro-Life Union of Greater Philadelphia. I'm sure you probably know of them.
Yes.
Yeah,
Sure
they're
do.
doing great work in our area, and have gotten me involved in the sidewalk servants with Dr. Monique Ribeiro,
Oh,
who
yes.
is also doing incredible work, having all of us, go to those abortion facilities and praying and being there for those people, just to simply be a presence, a loving presence, and praying and offering our sacrifices for the unborn, and also for the mothers, fathers, and the families. Let's talk a little bit about that, because you have seen so much over the years with people who are doing the same kind of work. What has that been like for you?
Love and presence are very, very closely related. When we love someone, we draw close to them. God, in loving us, becomes present to us even physically. And we know in the incarnation, and then, of course, in the sacrament of his body and blood. So we have this reality in front of us all the time, love and presence. So if we love the children in the womb, if they are our youngest, most defenseless neighbors, then we have to ask, how can we be present to them? And how can we stop this killing of them by abortion? Well, we know where the abortions are happening. We know when they are happening. They're publicly advertised in these public facilities, these abortion facilities. So we go there. We go there to provide hope for the moms, the dads, the grandparents, the people who are coming there thinking that they're solving a problem, although they're not really convinced of it, though. They're doing this out of despair. They're doing this because, not out of freedom of choice, but because they feel they have no freedom and no choice. And so we go there to be a sign of hope, to be a presence motivated by love, to say, we can help you. And as you say, over all these years, over all these decades of my own involvement in the pro-life movement, I have seen this so clearly in every town and city and village across America where I've gone to pray. I've prayed in front of almost every abortion facility in America. And without fail, I have seen there at these places this loving presence, people who care, people who are there to offer alternatives to abortion, people who are there ready to say to these moms and these dads, if you don't want the baby, give the baby to us. Or if you want help to raise that child, come to us. We're here for you. And this is one of the most persuasive and inspiring dimensions of the pro-life movement, that this outpouring of love and presence are happening every single day, and is saving lives, is restoring hope where there is despair, and is a sign then to the wider community of really what we're supposed to do for one another at all stages of life, to truly love and serve one another, and to be present in the time of need.
Amen. Very well said. A question came into my mind, and I think that it's a good one, because sometimes you hear this, and we have talked about this before, Father, those people that will say that, what are you going to do once that child is born? Like they'll say to the person that's outside of the abortion facility, or to pro-lifers in general, okay, you care about the baby to be born, but then don't do anything to help once that child is born. Now, I know that's not true, because where we live in the Philadelphia area, there's so many resources that are offered through organizations like the Pro-Life Union to help those young mothers or the mothers that are deciding, yes, I'd like to keep my child. I don't want to have an abortion. Talk about that if you could, because you and I both know that it's not
Yeah.
about that. It is from womb to tomb.
Oh, it certainly is. And so many of the people who are saving the unborn are doing so precisely because they're serving people at all different stages of life. But you know, if we take a step back, we as pro-life people are sort of puzzled by the question itself because it's coming from such a different universe, mental universe, than we're operating on. Let me use an analogy. A fireman goes into a burning building and rescues, literally saves the life of somebody from that fire. Can you imagine people at the scene of the fire saying to the firefighters, men and women alike, saying to them, what are you doing for these people after you save them from the fire? Or emergency medical technicians, you know, they're intervening to save someone's life who's having some kind of life-threatening emergency. So what do you people do after you save them from the heart attack? It's like, where in the world is this question even coming from? Don't people realize that the value of saving someone's life is that you have given them everything that follows after that? What are you doing for the baby after you save the baby's life? Well, I've given them everything else. How are they going to graduate high school? How are they going to get married? How are they going to have their first child? How are they going to enjoy, you know, getting their first job or succeeding in their career? You save someone's life, you're giving them everything.
Mm.
So I think we have to start with that perspective. And then, as you said, and as we all know in the pro-life movement, we are a movement of service. And the people who are saving lives are doing it because they know that that's a valuable thing to do all the time. And in whatever way they can, everybody has his or her own calling and profession. In whatever way they can, they're serving people in so many different circumstances.
Yes, absolutely. I agree with you. And I'm glad we talked about that because I think that's a question that a lot of people get, you know, people who are involved in pro-life and even people who are on the other side who think those questions and they still want that one answered. So I thank you for that. Now, you and I are both Catholic, and a lot of the people involved in the pro-life movement, obviously there are a lot of Catholics, but you've worked with all kinds of people. I know that you've worked with Protestant Christians and Jewish, non-religion. Talk about that too, because I know that it really is an ecumenical movement. It's not just for Catholics. It's really for everyone. I mean, every life is important to God.
It's very much of an ecumenical movement. As a matter of fact, aside from my role as heading up Priests for Life, I serve as the president of another group called the National Pro-Life Religious Council, and that is an interdenominational group involving people like the Presbyterians pro-life and the Anglicans for life, people like the Lutherans for life and Life Watch, which is a Methodist group. And so we get together with all these pastors and believers from across the body of Christ. The reason that the pro-life movement is so diverse is, first of all, it's a movement that is based on, not primarily on our religion, but on our humanity. We want to save children in need. And that's a basic human instinct. A baby is in danger. Well, our instinct is to save the baby. So this is a movement that arises, not because someone in some high position calls people together to form the movement. No, this is a movement that arises around the kitchen tables of America and the world, for that matter, around in the living rooms, in the hearts of individuals who, like I was telling you the story earlier, like myself as a teenager, who said, wow, this abortion thing, this is a big problem. You have to do something about this. So it's a normal human response. And the movement is as wide and diverse as our humanity itself, embracing people of all religions and of no religion. Some of my colleagues and friends within the pro-life movement are atheists. Now, the great majority of the people within the movement are believers, are in fact Christians. But there are even atheists who will say, look, I don't know about God, but I can tell you that baby is real, and it's wrong to kill that baby. And in fact, some of there are pro-life atheist organizations, and one of their mottos is, we atheists ought to be the most pro-life of everybody, because for us, this life is all you get. So, they understand. They understand the need to save these lives, and they are willing to join hands together with us who are believers. That's one of the things we should rejoice in this movement, that it is so diverse. Again, simply because it's so basic.
It is so basic. And it is a gift given to us, that gift of life, and everyone deserves it. So I thank you for sharing on that. Now, what about for some of those Catholics? Because there are Catholics that are kind of confused on this issue. And I know you know what I'm talking about, that not really putting that issue at the top, that basic human right to life. Can you talk a little bit about that? Because I know there is some confusion out there, Catholics who don't really understand its importance.
Two words come to my mind: arithmetic and logic. Mm-hmm. If people want to understand, why do we and so many others consider abortion to be such a priority issue? First of all, the arithmetic. Nothing takes more human lives. Now, if you go onto a search engine and you search for leading causes of death in the United States, you'll see, lists of the top 10 leading causes of death. And they don't come anywhere near the numbers of abortions each year in the United States, much less in the world. There's nothing taking more human life, and yet we're not registering it like that. You won't see abortion named on those lists, but if you look at abortion and say, yeah, this is the taking of a human life, well then, mathematically, it's number one. Nothing is claiming more victims, and just for that reason alone, people should be placing a top priority on solving this problem. Now, arithmetic. Second, logic. If we don't have life, we don't have anything. People will say, oh, well, there's many issues. Well, of course there are. We know that. We all know that. Education, employment, poverty, war and peace. We know that there are many issues, and we're concerned about all these issues. But let's look at the question this way. People want to fight for the right to health care, the right to work, the right to vote. Okay. Take away a baby's life in the womb, and you've taken away her education. You've taken away her health care. You've taken away her right to vote. You've taken away the possibility for her to immigrate from one country to another. You've taken away everything. And so just logically, the defense of life has to be primary because everything else depends on it. Now, this has been articulated by the church, and it's specifically Pope St. John Paul II wrote that beautiful document called The Gospel of Life, wrote it in 1995. And it is still as valid and powerful today as ever. A well-beloved document, by the way, across the body of Christ, as we were saying before, ecumenically. And he goes into this in that document. He explains why abortion has a particular urgency. He talks about the baby as the most defenseless of human beings, the baby in the womb. And he also brings up another reason why this is top priority for urgency. And that is, it would be bad enough if you look at the dismemberment of a baby. That's bad enough in and of itself as an act of violence. But he said with abortion, we have another evil on top of that, which is that this act of violence is declared to be a right. And the action itself is protected by the laws and policies of so many countries. And then he mentions one further dimension. It's bad enough if somebody kills a baby. But when we're talking about abortion, who's deciding to kill that baby? It's the baby's own parents. And so you have something that is an evil already in and of itself, but now it's compounded by the fact that the violence is being carried out within the context of the family, which is the sanctuary of life, and the perpetrator is the closest relative of that child. So for these and for many other reasons, yes, it's very true to say the number one moral issue of our day truly is abortion.
Yeah, I agree with you. Thank you for articulating that so well. And another thing just came into my mind. A lot of young people, millennials and younger, they're very aware and care so much about the environment and about, green and not throwing things away and all of that. And to me, logically, you would say, well, if you have that mindset, then you're not going to just want to throw away a child. Does that make sense? So I don't know if you have anything to say about that, because I do think that a lot of younger people have that great awareness. Have you seen any of those same people involved in pro-life, or did they ever come to that realization that, you know what, if I'm going to be so much into caring about this environment, I also have to care about human life?
That's right. And there are a lot of people who see that connection intrinsically. And I think more and more people are waking up to see that connection. When Pope Francis talks about care for the environment, which is a theme he emphasizes a lot, the document he wrote about that, it speaks about the environment and the importance of it as our common home. And this is an important insight, because he's putting the importance of creation and the environment as something resting on and deriving from the importance and sanctity of human life. Why is the environment so valuable? Because human life is so valuable. This is our home. So the connection is intrinsic. And he mentions in the document too, he says, we got to be careful. Everything is interrelated. And so what that means is, if you're concerned about some species of animals that are in danger of going extinct, don't fail to be concerned about the human baby, even at the embryonic stage inside that mother. It's all interrelated. It's all interconnected. And unfortunately, many people are focused on one issue, like as you bring up the environment, and are blind or oblivious to the fundamental right to life. And that's not so much because the connection is hard to make logically. It's because we are often blinded politically. In other words, the interaction that we have with people, with certain groups, or certain organizations, people have to be able to distinguish the issues themselves from the messages that we're getting and the priorities that are being fed to us by the different groups to which we belong. And sometimes we have to take a step back and say, I'm concerned about this issue because of the issue. And maybe the people even that I'm working with on this issue aren't attentive enough to the fact that there is a connection among all these things.
Thank you. I think it takes some bravery too on individuals to step back from that group that they're involved with and say, you know what, maybe I don't support everything that this group is for. So thank you. For people who are watching, because I know I hear this a lot, want to get involved in pro-life, in the movement, but they're not real sure how to get involved, other than just like offering up a little prayer here and there, or saying,
right,
I'm pro-life, but they don't know where to begin. So could you just talk about that?
There's a lot of places to begin. And if folks are watching and want to jot down a couple of websites, let me give you some information to get you started. First of all, we at Priests for Life have an overall website called endabortion.us. And endabortion.us is a treasure chest of activities, practical things, like you're saying right now, that can get people started in saving lives. You mentioned prayers, and we have a whole website, prolifeprayers.com. To begin, if you are a prayerful person already, incorporate explicitly the unborn and the end of abortion in your daily prayer intentions, because the more you pray about it, the more you will be thinking about it, and you'll be educating yourself about it, and you'll be ready to do something about it. That's an excellent place to start. Secondly, knowing what to say to somebody who says, a friend of mine, or perhaps I am in a situation where I need an alternative to abortion. We're going to, sooner or later, be in that situation where we're going to be encountering somebody who needs the actual help, to know what to say to that person in terms of where to go. So, for example, pregnancycenters.org is a website that people can use to find the pregnancy centers, which fortunately outnumber the abortion facilities by about 5 to 1. The places where people can find alternatives to abortion are everywhere. Look them up at pregnancycenters.org. You know somebody who's thinking about having an abortion, maybe she doesn't know what to do, where to turn, refer her there, you'll be saving a life. People who have had abortions and have the pain, have the sorrow as a result, abortionforgiveness.com, another key website to find that help. I mean, people who just by knowing those two websites, pregnancycenters.org, abortionforgiveness.com, you can be doing an immense amount of good, saving lives, healing hearts, bringing people the help they need. Then, of course, there's speaking up, reading, keeping ourselves informed. Our website has all kinds of suggestions for articles, books. We have to be educating ourselves. But then speaking up to our elected officials, because we're trying to change the laws. Ultimately, for these babies to be protected by law is going to give them the solid protection they need from being killed. And we got to make our voices heard to those that are making our laws. So we have a special site called stopabortionnow.org. That's our action alert page. And for example, right now, we're urging people to support a bill in the Congress that would protect babies from, there's a couple of different bills. One would protect babies from 20 weeks forward in the womb. The other one would protect babies if an abortion is attempted and the child, as sometimes happens, actually survives the abortion. Believe it or not, those children do not have adequate protection even after they're outside the womb. So we're trying to pass these modest, common sense bills that already enjoy a strong support among the American people as first steps, not the final goal, but as first steps to the ultimate protection of all these children. Everybody who's listening, we need your voice. And it's very simple. We guide you step by step what to say, what number to call, connect with your representative in Congress and your two U.S. senators. And then, of course, you have your legislators at the state level, too. We show you how to communicate with them. There's so much to be said, so much to be done, and so much good activity going on, but it will succeed only with the involvement of each and every one of us.
Thank you. I'm glad that you gave all those resources, and I hope that people who are watching will check out all of those websites, but most of all that abortion.us. I know that that's one of your main sites, and they can find so much on that one. Unfortunately, we do have to end in just a bit. This is an hour show, so during the second half of the show, I'm going to talk a little bit more about the pro-life movement and give you some ministry updates from the foundation I represent, and also just from these ministries that I'm involved here at Journeys in Faith and Fiat Ministry Network, Patchwork Heart Ministry. Did you have any final words or calls to action to our audience?
Yes, I just want to emphasize one thing. We are winning in this effort to protect the unborn. We are winning. Many people will be told or will look at negative things that are happening. Sure, there's lots of obstacles. There's always setbacks. But look, public opinion is with us more and more. We are making tremendous progress in the states. More and more pro-life bills are being passed. We've got the Supreme Court now about to issue next year a major decision on abortion that can propel us forward in a very strong way. We are winning, and the trajectory of history is on our side, where we include more and more human beings. We include human beings that were once excluded by slavery, or once excluded by segregation, or once excluded by not giving women basic rights to work and to vote. And we are on the right path. And I want people to be encouraged knowing that, in understanding the progress and being part of a winning team. Never doubt that the outcome of this battle has already been decided. We are on the side of Almighty God as well as on the side of history, and we should do this work no matter what the obstacles are, with a tremendous amount of confidence and joy.
Father Frank Pavone, thank you so much for being a guest on Journeys in Faith. So well said. We'd love to have you back again. And I just invite this audience to please do check out all of those websites, especially abortion.us. Again, thank you, Father Pavone.
God bless you. Thanks, Ann.
God bless. See you next time. Hi, my name is Anne DeSantis, and I'm the director for the St. Raymond Nonnatus Foundation for Freedom, Family, and Faith. You can learn about us on our website at nonnatus.org. I'm here to tell you today about two great podcasts that I hope that you will tune in. The first Tuesday of every month at 8 o'clock, we have a podcast specifically for Catholics affected by divorce. From 8 to 9 p.m. Eastern, go to Philly Nonnatus on YouTube to subscribe. In addition, we also have a podcast the last Thursday of every month. That's also at 8 o'clock Eastern Time for 1 hour. And that one is for families in crisis. We have some really great guests coming up soon, so hope to see you then. Please also consider the fact that you can make spiritual direction appointments with us, with our spiritual moderator. All you need to do is go to our website on the contact form and just reach out to us. We'd be happy to hear from you and look forward to setting up an appointment. So we'd love to connect with you. Please share this video and let people know that we're there for families affected by divorce and also families in crisis. Thank you.
Patchwork Heart Ministry and Fiat Ministry Network present the Discover Your Mission series.
Now, I had been brought up without any prayer, without Bible, without church, nothing of that kind. And so when my father died, I became suicidally depressed. I had no desire to live. And yet, by the grace of God, whenever I got to the point of actually taking my life, I always had this interior conviction that if I took my life, I would simply find it again on the other side, and it would be permanent misery.
But it wasn't until I became a wife and a mother, and I began to try and pass my faith on to my children, that I realized that everything I knew about Jesus was memorized doctrine.
I was a good man, I was a good father, I was instilling the sacraments into my family. I was definitely not intentional. I was stuck rope in my faith.
But what kind of strength did he have? Jackie did not just have a strength of body or baseball skill. He had a strength inside of his spirit, a courageous meekness that empowered him to play the game.
And I tell him what is going on with me, and he's like, oh, okay. And I'm like, no, I think this is like some sort of miracle, dude. And he's like, okay, of course, but I'll believe it when I see it. Honey, you've been trying to quit, and you've been saying this and saying that, and his big line to me is, you shouldn't say things, because I never follow through on them. And so this was week after week, month after month. He is looking at me like, this is a miracle. There is no way that you, on your own, could have done this.
So we are called to sing. All of us are called to sing. All of us are called to express ourselves and join our voice into the unity of the church. Often with my choirs, I ask them to listen to each other, to listen to the sound that they make together as one. That's what we're aiming for. Through the harmony or unison, we're aiming for a one sound.
You need to decide, what are you going to participate in? Are you going to participate in the historic Christian idea of the altar of sacrifice, which is in the Eucharist, or not?
Hi, welcome back to Journeys in Faith after our commercial break. And it was a real honor to have Father Frank Pavone on the show. And again, his two main websites are priestforlife.org, and the other one is endabortion.us. So be sure to check out those two websites and connect with him on social media. And he's continuing to do amazing work in the field of pro-life, educating people and also getting them involved to learn more about the importance of life from conception all the way until natural death. And that's really what it's all about. So for the second half of the show, I'm just going to give 7 tips of ways that you and I can get involved in the pro-life movement. In addition to some updates on the foundation I represent, which is the St. Raymond Nonnatus Foundation for Freedom, Family, and Faith at nonnatus.org, and also with Patchwork Heart Ministry, Fiat Ministry Network, and some other things that are just going to be coming along this year. So I'm going to start out with just talking with you about some things, ways that we can all get involved and stay involved in pro-life. And the number one way is to pray. And just to remember that those prayers that you offer for the unborn, for mothers, for fathers, for families really do make a difference. I know that there's special rosaries that you can pray that are specifically for the unborn, and be sure to check that out on Father Pavone's website at priestforlife.org. I'm sure that there's some information there. But that's probably the biggest way that what we can all do simply is just offering those daily prayers, making sacrifices for the unborn. Second way I have is not to be afraid to go public with your friends, with your family, that you are pro-life. I think sometimes we can get scared that, what will people think of me if I make this known? Because we live in a culture that is not honoring life. We live in a culture that is not, is saying that it's better to be independent and to do what you want. It's more of, I guess, that selfish mentality in some ways. But when you decide on your own, in your thoughts, in your prayers, in your interactions with others, that you want to make that stand and be pro-life. And that could be starting out with, as I said, that prayer life and just offering those prayers for those unborn babies, for those families that really need those prayers, that support. So that's probably one of the second ways that you can get involved. Next I have is to find out where you can volunteer. Now, I live in the greater Philadelphia area, and we have an organization here called the Pro-Life Union of Greater Philadelphia. I've talked about it before on this show, and in fact, even hosted guests on Journeys in Faith and on our podcast, Sowing Hope. And if you would simply go to the website, it's the prolifeunion.org. Again, prolifeunion.org. Check it out, learn about opportunities that are there. And you can also learn about an organization called Sidewalk Servants. One of my former guests here on the show was Dr. Monique Ribeiro. And Dr. Monique Ribeiro is heading up organizing, having people go to some of those large abortion facilities in Philadelphia, in the area that I live in, and taking the time to pray for 1 or 2 hours. Now, that is a peaceful event. That is something that is not confrontational. It is simply being there, your presence. Your presence there means so much, aside from even saying anything. Of course, you can always offer materials and leaflets and some information so that people can learn about the pregnancy hotlines and crisis pregnancy centers. And that's always a good thing, is just bringing that information to those moms so they know that there is an alternative to abortion. So that's another way that you can get involved, is just checking out, learning in your area. Everybody, wherever you live, there is some kind of pro-life presence, even if it isn't directly in your own town. Like I'm in the Philadelphia area, but in the suburbs. So our main organizations are located to cover that whole greater Philadelphia area. So I do encourage you to check that out. Another way to get involved is to consider joining one of those organizations like 40 Days for Life. that you can actually go to a facility and pray. And it's not usually that much of a time commitment, maybe once a month or, however often you can do it. And they usually recommend that you go in twos. It's just part of the safety issues there too, is making sure that there's somebody there with you. So I would say that consider doing it, consider at least learning about, a way that you can get involved. And again, you can check out that website at prolifeunion.org, even if you're not in the Philadelphia area, and just learn how that all works of getting involved, and 40 Days for Life as well. When we talk about pro-life, and that is number 5 on my list here of the 7 ways to get involved in pro-life, it really is womb to tomb. So, we care about life all the way from conception into natural death. And Father Pavone talked on the first half of this show about that whole idea that pro-lifers do care. They're helping so that that baby and that family does have the opportunity for life. And there are so many resources, so many wonderful crisis pregnancy centers, I know even in my area, that are doing great work to help to get those resources, like whether it be clothing, food, shelter, a place for a mom to stay after the baby is born. And so I would just say, consider the fact that pro-life is womb to tomb, and it also includes all of those issues in between, and caring about people, their life, and also end of life issues too. So if you don't know much about the pro-life movement, just learn about it. We're here on Fiat Ministry Network. It is a Catholic network, but the pro-life movement really is for all religions and non-religions. It's really a human issue. So I just encourage you to consider learning and researching more about it. Number 6 on my list is to encourage parents, and meaning that, encourage family and encourage that people become educated and value the idea of having more children. I know that it's difficult, and there's resources there too to learn about, really developing your family and your faith and being strong so that you can be able to raise a family and get those resources that are needed. But encouraging young people and families through the church. I know there's a lot of organizations through the Catholic Church, through other organizations, nonprofits, other churches, learning about ways that families can be supported. And one of those ways I will mention is an organization like the one that I represent, which is the St. Raymond Nonnatus Foundation. And what we do is we offer pastoral accompaniment for families in crisis. So you can also check out our website at nonnatus.org and just learn about the work that we're doing in pro-life and helping for families to feel that they have the support of the church and the support that they deserve. Number 7 on my list is to educate. And I know I kind of alluded to that during this list, but educating people about what it really means to be pro-life. It really is the fact of allowing that child to have the opportunity, a gift from God, which is life, and not cutting that life off, and that it does begin at conception. The best place to go to learn about that, of course, as Father Pavone said, is endabortion.us, and also priestsforlife.org. So check those out, learn about it, pray about it, and just ponder, what can you do? The first step, as I said at the beginning, is pray. So just offer those prayers. I also wanted to give you an update on the foundation that I represent, which is the St. Raymond Nonnatus Foundation, as I said, at nonnatus.org, and wanted to tell you what we offer. So if you're watching and you are a family in crisis, or you know someone who is, what we do is offer, we say 4 Ps. Now, I'll tell you what they are. First is prayer. We are founded by the Mercedarian Religious Order, and we were founded in 2015 with the idea of making outreach to those families who are in crisis, letting them know that the church is there for them, and we're there for you. That, the church is a field hospital, as Pope Francis has said before, and that's what we're doing. We're offering that accompaniment so that you and your family will get the resources, the help, and the support that you need. So that's the number 1 thing that we offer, is prayer, ongoing prayer. The next thing that we offer are podcasts and videos. Now, we do have our own YouTube channel. It's called Philly Nonnatus. And all you need to do is just go to YouTube and key that right into the search engine and find out. I would ask you to subscribe. We have some beautiful podcasts there, both for families affected by divorce and also for families in crisis. Now, on that note, I want to tell you about a special series that we've done over this last year. And it's with my friend Rose Sweet. She might even be watching right now. And the series is called After Divorce. And it's basically a 12-part series for Catholics who are affected by divorce and giving those helpful tips for people who have gone through that tragedy of a family breakup and what that's like and how difficult that can be. So each month we have a topic. And if you go to that YouTube channel or our website, you can look up those different topics that we have. Some of them are dealing with your children, with grief, and then living single. So there's just a lot of different topics in those 12-part series. So check it out and subscribe. And the new podcast for that series, for our divorce series, is the first Tuesday of every month. That's when it goes live. But of course, you can always listen to it on demand. Another one that we do is a Families in Crisis podcast. That's the last Thursday of every month, 8 p.m. Eastern. We just are finishing up a series on the 10 Commandments with the president of the foundation, Mickey Kelly. So you can check that out as well. And if you go to our website, we have a page there that are podcasts and videos, and you can take a look at some of the interviews that I have done. I even interviewed Father Frank Pavone on our website, so you can check that out. And many other videos too. We have a SoundCloud presence too, which is another podcasting outlet. As well, I want to thank Patchwork Heart Ministry and Fiat Ministry Network because they publish our podcasts every single month. That would be both this channel where Journeys in Faith is hosted, and also Patchwork Heart Ministry. The founder is Bill Snyder, and he's also my podcast host for our podcast that we do together every week. It's called Sowing Hope. And I would ask you to subscribe to Patchwork Heart Ministry to learn more. And that gets me to my next topic, just to let you know what's going on with Patchwork Heart Ministry and Fiat Ministry Network. You know, we work together. We do a lot of things together. And I want to ask you to please do like this page. And I want to thank the producer, Kent Kalhosky. He's done such an amazing job over this last year with all of the Journeys in Faith shows. You know, the pandemic wasn't an easy thing for all of us to go through, but Kent and I came together every single week producing these shows and with wonderful guests. So I would ask you to subscribe and do take a look at some of those videos that we did over this last year. I had some wonderful guests. In fact, this is our 60th episode of Journeys in Faith on Fiat Ministry Network. And you can go to Patchwork Heart Ministry and there's a playlist there with all the videos. And I'm going to ask you if you wouldn't mind also subscribing, because I have my own YouTube channel too. And one is called Anne DeSantis and the other one is Journeys in Faith TV. So you can also subscribe to those two channels and watch some of those amazing episodes, because Fiat Ministry Network really has some great shows all the time. The Fiat Show with Kent Kalhosky, and you know, our friend Alan Smith has a show as well. And you can watch some of those great programs. And Patchwork Heart Ministry, as I mentioned, the Sowing Hope podcast is live every single Tuesday and Thursday at 6 p.m. for a live podcast with amazing guests. We're going to be with you all summer long and into the fall, Bill Snyder and I. And also, you know, those are also on the other podcasting outlets too, like Podbean and Apple Podcasts. So definitely check those out. Now, I have to mention too that we are going to be taking a break from Journeys in Faith just for the summer. Here, I'm taping this here in June of 2021. So we're not going to be doing any new shows this summer, but we will be back again in the fall. So definitely keep an eye out, and inviting you to that if you have a need for producing of wonderful videos that you want to get in touch with Fiat Ministry Network, it's simply message Kent Kalhosky, and he can, you know, talk to you about some of the opportunities that he might have, that if you would like to produce something for your nonprofit organization. And he can give you all those details. And just want to thank him again, and thank Jennifer Sinclair, who's another friend of the network, who shares a lot of our podcasts. And we really have a wonderful group of friends here at Patchwork Heart Ministry, Fiat Ministry Network, and also the St. Raymond Nonnatus Foundation for Freedom, Family, and Faith, doing amazing work. Now, I have two more things that I want to talk to you about before the end of the show. And the first one is that there's a new book that's going to be coming out from Patchwork Heart Ministry. It's called Hearts Burning Within Us. And the contributors, the authors for the book, are Bill Snyder, myself, Maggie Riggins, and Jen Southerton. And the topic of the book are questions from college age students answering their questions of faith. You know, it's going to be coming out soon in 2021, probably this summer. So keep an eye out at Patchwork Heart Ministry for the book called Hearts Burning Within Us by Charis Publishing. And on that note, too, I have my own book that's just been published, and it's called Love and Care for the Marginalized, 40 Meditations for Catholics. It's available on Amazon. It's also through, of course, Charis Publishing, which I've mentioned before. And again, Love and Care for the Marginalized. It's 40 meditations. Really, they're meditations that come from popes, saints, religious leaders, people of faith. Some are even my own movies. And each day there is a reflection, a prayer, and a call to action, along with a quote. And the book is meant to be read over and over. It's just 40 meditations. It's a relatively short book, but it's meant to help you grow in your faith, to have that realization about people who really need more love and support. And, you know, that's part of what it means to be Catholic, is that being able to offer our love, prayer, support for those who don't have the support that they deserve. And that's what it really means to help the marginalized. And the marginalized are really with us in everyday life. They're with us in our homes, extended families, neighborhoods, schools, workplaces, and even in our churches. So keep your eye out for those people, because they're there, and God really does want us to make outreach to them. So I think for me, that's pretty much the updates that I want to offer to you on the show, what's going on. But most of all, I want to thank Father Frank Pavone of Priests for Life and EndAbortion.us for joining us on this show. It's really been my honor to be with all of you, and I hope you have a beautiful summer, as this will be, as I said, the last show that we'll be doing until the fall. God bless everyone, and we'll see you soon.
Journeys of Faith is a production of Fiat Ministry Network and Patchwork Heart Ministry. For more information about Journeys of Faith, email info@fiatministrynetwork.tv. And be sure to friend, follow, and like us on social media. Just search Journeys in Faith with Anne DeSantis.